Welcome, everyone. You're listening to Nephology, the podcast dedicated to crypto, accounting, business, finance, and much, much more. I'm Joe David, the founder of Nephos Group in Minor. Please note that all conversations recorded are professional opinions, and if you'd like to know more or gain support, please reach out to the team directly. Now, on to the next episode. Welcome everyone to the latest episode of the Nephology podcast. I'm Joe, your host, and I'm delighted today to be with Mithil from Velar. Mithil, how are you?
Really good. Thanks for having me, Joe, and really nice to see you again.
Yeah, you too. It's been a few months, and you've been on the circuit, going to events.
Yeah, I mean, second half of the year in crypto is usually a lot of events, and it's just begun. Like I was in Singapore last week, but until end of the year, it's completely packed. So many events to go to
all around the world.
Yeah,
nice. So we'll get into Velar. We'll get into all these different bits and pieces. But first of all, let's start with the listeners and the viewers understanding a bit about you. Where you came from, your history in crypto, and yeah, that'd be great.
For sure, man. So I moved to Dubai around 3 years ago. Otherwise, I lived in India all my life, born and brought up there. Did my schooling and university there. Completed my BTech in computer science in 2017. But probably, in the final year of engineering, like there's not much studies to do.
Okay.
Like I completed most of my credits in first 3 years, and that's what like most of the people do in my university. So I had a lot of time. So I got into I was exploring what to do. A few of my friends, I saw them trading Bitcoin, and it was like probably a few $100 at that time. It's like late 2016 kind of stuff. So was intrigued by it, but didn't look much into it until like it started doubling every few weeks or something. So plus a lot of other tokens started coming in. So it was very intriguing, and I put some of my own money, started trading. Made really good profits for like a very young 20-year-old just starting out from India without any background. Like made over probably $30,000 in profits in just a few months.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, like caught Ethereum $20, sold at $200, like those times, like early 2017 times. But then all the profits I lost because I had no like professional training or experience in trading, how to manage risks, all those things. So because I lost all the money, but now I had got bitten by the Bitcoin bug, right? So got more on the tech side, started working on Ethereum smart contracts. We started a services studio based out of New Delhi, India, called Hedge Technologies. We used to develop smart contracts for ICOs, do audits of smart contracts for ICOs that used to come, basically provide a one-stop solution for including branding, marketing, social media, management and managing the community, helping them launch their tokens, develop and audit their tokens. So yeah, it was fun times, just bunch of friends, doing anything, everything we could. But it actually helped us a lot while we were working with a lot of crypto projects. Some of them did really good. Some of them failed. Some of them raised a lot of money. Some of them like got hacked. So got more on the audits part. Started to understand how many risks are there in just because the industry is very naive. Most people don't understand. So ran that for a couple of years, probably 2 years, and then parallelly we were also because I said like it was a one-stop solution for a lot of ICOs. So when they used to raise money, we used to also parallelly trade and manage risks of the treasuries that projects used to have. So raise some very small amount of funds, like maybe like 5% of treasuries of crypto projects. We used to like manage risks, give them some returns. So we started making that more organized when the ICOs went down, like end of 2018, early 2019, when ICOs died out. So, but a lot of projects that raised a lot of funds, they still had treasuries, which used to be, which had to be managed because like all the tokens that they were holding were going down there. A lot of people were selling their tokens. So we used to like trade and give them some ROI, and we started making them more organized. That's when I started Terra Search Capital.
Yep.
And it was a hedge fund. It's still running. It's a hedge fund in which we basically trade derivatives in crypto markets.
Okay.
So registered in mid 2019, and yeah, I mean, when we were scaling up, and we were starting to raise a lot of funds from a lot of investors. That's why I moved to Dubai in 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was very difficult to get regulated in India as a crypto hedge fund. We didn't know what would be the repercussions, and it was just easier to move to a more crypto-friendly jurisdiction.
Yeah.
So I actually moved to Dubai even before the bull market began in 2021.
Okay.
Yeah, so at that time, like, Dubai was not much of a crypto hub.
Okay.
Like most people in Asia, they would go to Singapore or Hong Kong, or even East Asia, but like Dubai was not much in crypto scene. So yeah, it kind of, I mean, yeah, it was kind of a good move now that I look back. But
So that must have been like pandemic, the height.
Yeah,
of the
literally,
pandemic.
I moved in the middle of like 2020, so in the middle of COVID.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So you moved here. You were running the hedge fund in India, and then you moved to Dubai to carry on running the hedge fund or to scale the hedge fund.
Yeah. The thing was that we had specific strategies in the fund. That, you know, like we used to trade on USD based perps and also coin based perps. So we used to also take BTC and ETH as collateral, use them as collateral and trade on perpetual contracts. Basically, on BitMEX used to allow coin perps at that time. So like few other exchanges used to allow coin perps. So actually our fund strategy was very unique at that time, which helped us scale. That, you know, like if you put if you're already holding bitcoins, then Bitcoin is essentially sitting dormant in your balance sheet. It doesn't make any returns on top of the volatility in the prices that Bitcoin gives, right? So if you are holding 100 bitcoins, it can go up or down in price, but your 100 doesn't become 110, right? So that's what we used to offer in our fund as strategy, that, you know, we don't care about the volatility in prices in dollar terms, but if you put 100 bitcoins with us, we'll make it 105, 110, you know, like that would be our target.
Okay, so the theory there was to grow the balance of Bitcoin, number of Bitcoin you hold, rather than the value of the Bitcoin as such. The value was separate to that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So at that time, a lot of our investors were really believers in Bitcoin, because they wanted to hold Bitcoin for next 3 to 5 years. They didn't care about its price going up or down in dollars, but they wanted to accumulate more Bitcoins.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. So fast forward then, I guess, to where we are now. So you do you still run the hedge fund, or you?
Yeah, I was the founding partner, but I moved to an advisory role when I started Velar earlier this year.
Yeah.
And anyway, like most of the things were automated. We have, crypto moves in cycles, right? So a lot of the strategies doesn't work in different cycles. So it was kind of, we were also looking to build new strategies. We were in research mode at that time when we started Velar. So I moved to an advisory role to focus more on Velar.
Yeah, it makes sense. So then, and here we sit today, and that's obviously the main topic of conversation is Velar. So tell us a little bit about what it is, and I guess why you launched it.
Again, you know, like it's how I see Velar is, so we are building DeFi on Bitcoin, if you want to like say in very layman terms, which has not been done yet in past 14 to 15 years of Bitcoin's existence. So the concept of DeFi itself is very is like very intriguing and exciting for me, and being able to do that on Bitcoin and being early into that is probably one of the main reasons that I took the leap of faith of getting back to building mode, like from running a fund and started Velar. But I mean, there are so many reasons. I mean, we started Velar, we can just keep going, but you know, let's
so you're obviously a big believer in Bitcoin, right? And the ecosystem that Bitcoin has, but you talk about DeFi and like you say, you know, you could build a DeFi platform on Ethereum probably like that. You probably don't even need to be a coder these days or a developer to build a DeFi platform on Ethereum. The amount of tools there are available for you to be able to do that. So obviously there's a strategic reason as to why why you would build on Bitcoin, I guess. But was there another was there a thing for you for Bitcoin that you feel like as the Bitcoin ecosystem something it needs, or other people were looking to build but they weren't building it maybe how you would have liked? Do you know what I mean? Was there any other reason behind it?
So Bitcoin itself is a very novel concept for humans, for entire humanity, I would say, because like something like this had never existed before, where a system which is completely open and decentralized, anybody can come join and contribute to it, and there are a lot of reasons, but I think there are two main reasons why DeFi should exist on Bitcoin. One of them is a business reason, and one of them is like a more personal reason that I have, is that I mean, if you see why Bitcoin or crypto was born in the first place in 2008, 2009, was that it was born as a I would say a fallback option in case the centralized systems fail. And in case the centralized and the banking system fails, then where do our future generations go? Like, how do you I mean, where do you go? I mean, where does your where do you park your funds? Where do you get your yields from? How do you manage your or secure your future? So entire crypto industry was designed, and Bitcoin was designed as a completely open and decentralized system which is not controlled by one centralized authority or one third party. And that's I think is a very novel concept which we have never seen before in entire human history. And that's why like a lot of people think that Bitcoin is only to be used for like a store of value. But I think like what Bitcoin provides is much more important than just the coin that Bitcoin has. So I think the more valuable thing that Bitcoin provides is the consensus mechanism that it is based on, the proof of work consensus. And this proof of work consensus is what makes the whole system completely open and decentralized. And it has, I would say, unlimited use cases. So of course there are some people that say that some things should be built on Bitcoin and some not, but I think Bitcoin is above that. And it's because it's open and decentralized, people can build actually whatever they want, and it's up to other people if they want to use that particular use case or not. But like talking about any particular use case that can be or cannot be built on Bitcoin is itself it itself doesn't make sense when you're talking about crypto, because the whole point of crypto is to be open and decentralized and to build whatever you want on top of it for whoever you want.
Absolutely. So and you've touched on a really important subject there, which is the kind of proof of work, proof of stake kind of argument, or whatever you want to call it. And Ethereum made a big move from proof of work last year to proof of stake. A lot of people discuss and talk about proof of work as being this bad thing, bad for the environment, or whatever it may be. This an old system that shouldn't work in the modern day, and all that sort of stuff. But you have a different view, right? In terms of, and I do as well, by the way, on how proof of work. But tell us a little bit about why you believe about proof of work and Bitcoin being on proof of work, and rather than the proof of stake model.
So I don't have personally any grudge or any issue against proof of stake. It's just I mean, the two main reasons proof of work is better than proof of stake is because first reason is it's more battle tested. Like, proof of work has been in existence since Bitcoin, and it's the only consensus mechanism that has not been hacked till date. And I mean, it just shows that it's how important network effects are, and the network effect that Bitcoin has seen develop using proof of work, it's just incomparable to anything. I think Ethereum also, the reason Ethereum was first designed using proof of work is, I think, one of the same reason, that it was more battle tested, it was more trusted. The second reason being that it's still, I think, the most open and decentralized mechanism to build any financial system on top of. So I mean, if we take a step back, so I even don't mind centralized systems. They work really well. I mean, I use credit cards on a daily basis still. So I'm who am I to judge centralized systems, right? The only reason, again, like coming back to our point, that why crypto was designed is as an added option, and then let people choose if they want to use centralized systems or they want to use open and decentralized systems like proof of work. Now I think proof of stake falls somewhere in the middle, which is also not bad, because proof of stake, though like in comparison to Bitcoin, it can be as decentralized, if of course it gets more distributed in coming years. It can be as decentralized as Bitcoin, theoretically, but I don't think it's as open as proof of work as a system, because the fundamental flaw of proof of stake, I wouldn't say flaw, it can be a feature, it can be a flaw, is I would say an attribute of proof of stake is that until somebody like gives up their vote, no new person can add and join the system to vote for the system. So how proof of work works is that anybody who has the hardware and electricity can join the system and can be a part of the group of people that are called miners, that are approving the transactions, right? So even if for example, if you are a trillionaire and you put out the largest mining farm and control 80% of hash rate on Bitcoin, but still you can't stop other people from doing that. That's what makes the system open, right? But in proof of stake, if you control 70% of the voting power today, then until and unless you sell that voting power to somebody else, no new people can join. So this is what makes proof of stake less open, in compared to proof of work. And if we again go back to square one, what we were discussing, that why crypto was designed is to like possibly have a completely open and decentralized system, not for us, but like for entire future generations to come in future, that if in case centralized systems don't work out, if in case they fail, then there should be a completely open and decentralized system. And that's why I think an ideal scenario should be that centralized, decentralized systems like proof of work, centralized systems like banks, and I would say semi-centralized systems like proof of stake should coexist, and then it's up to people and users to choose.
Absolutely. And that, for me, that's what crypto is about, though, or blockchain is about. It's about giving choice, giving people the opportunity to choose whether they put their money. I know full well that my dad, for example, is not going to put all his money in crypto because he would trust the bank more than he would trust crypto, right? But partly because of his understanding of crypto and things like that. So some of this is perception, but the issue, I guess one of the main issues I have with proof of stake is I feel like it's easier to buy control than it is in proof of work, if that makes sense. So, if you are a trillionaire, like you say, you could pretty much buy control of any network you wanted to that was proof of stake. Doing that in Bitcoin is much harder, if that makes sense. It's not impossible, but it's harder. So I think that's why, one of the main reasons why I think it's hard to say that proof of stake, and I think you've hit the nail on the head exactly right, that it is semi-centralized, because it isn't centralized at all, but at the same time, you can get centralized parties that come in and control a big proportion of it, if that makes sense.
So again, like, it's not about centralization or decentralization as much as it is about being an open system. Like, how open is it for new people to join without without getting approval from people who are already inside the system?
Does that not, though, coming back to the centralized piece, is that not centralization, though, where you need somebody else to agree with what you want to do? Do you see what I mean? Like, it's the system is open in Bitcoin, for example, or in proof of work. The system is open. Anyone could join at any time. No one can stop them. In proof of stake, there are occasions where they could be stopped, or
possibly, yes. Yeah.
So, do you not think that is the same thing as centralization? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, if you put it that way, then I think it is. Yeah, that's why I called it semi-centralized.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, and also, like, it's not as battle tested.
Yeah.
As proof of work.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and
I think that
I think it's comparatively newer. Like, proof of stake, we have seen in existence for 7-8 years max now, which is less than 50% of the time, and probably, like, Ethereum is the largest. Largest ecosystem now on proof of stake. Before Ethereum, like, there was not any ecosystem, even at 5% of Ethereum's ecosystem market cap, or like in terms of number of users, which was running proof of stake. And Ethereum, it's not even been a year since Ethereum has been on proof of stake. So so would I bet my like like my life savings on proof of stake yet? I don't know. Like,
and that's a really good point. Is it's not that you don't believe in it. It's not because you don't like it or any of those things. There's more proof of the battle worthiness of proof of work than there is of proof of stake. I think that's a really good position. So, taking I guess the crypto industry as a whole, where do you think we are at the moment as an industry? A lot of people are talking about, next year's halving and, that being the catalyst of maybe the next bull run. And, I'm not asking for, price predictions or anything like that, but where do you see the industry at the moment? That doesn't necessarily even need to be about price, but in general, where do you see the industry at the moment?
So one thing is for sure that we have seen is that crypto industry moves in cycles. And you can't deny that. I think I even don't know the reason, but like what we have seen is that we have like Bitcoin halving, which happens every 4 years, and it can be a catalyst or it can be relevant or not in future. I don't know, but I think it also aligns with how the global macro liquidity environment moves around. The reason being that crypto, like at the top of the last bull market, it became a $2 trillion asset class. So when you become a $2 trillion asset class, you can't be completely isolated from the world. So what we saw in the last cycle, like in 2021, 2020, early 2022, is that a lot of institutions came in Bitcoin, in crypto markets for multiple reasons, for liquidity, for making most out of the volatility in markets. So I think it's also like crypto has been more aligned with the global macro environment over past 2 years than it has been over like before these 2 years, for past 12 to 14 years. And what we have seen in last year is that we have seen a liquidity crunch all throughout the world. That the governments all over the world are increasing interest rates. Like a lot of like money isn't moving too much in the market, so it has affected crypto as well. So in terms of that, the liquidity is probably at the lowest over past 3 or 4 years in crypto markets. But what this also does, its second order effect, is that it also filters out a lot of I would say bad actors from crypto, because what we saw in last cycle also is that even in 2022 there were like so much things happening in crypto markets that was not regulated, that was not like overlooked, and that caused so much loss to not just stakeholders, but also like users overall, because like few exchanges went down, a few custodial like providers went down, like BlockFi. So it's just combined all of that, like I said, like liquidity is low in the market currently, but also like,
do you think trust is low?
So talking about trust from maybe people who joined crypto recently, maybe they are skeptical, because who joined like to make a quick buck and they couldn't, maybe them. But like I wouldn't say trust is low for people who have been in crypto for more than 2 years.
Yeah, so and I totally agree with that. It's just an interesting, because I've been in it for more than 2 years and my trust isn't low. I there's certain things I trust less than others. I probably trust centralized exchanges less than I did 12, 18 months ago, because of what's happened. Nobody really expected FTX to the second largest exchange in the world to go down and implode in the few days that it did. And so trust has definitely gone down for certain things, but for me, I agree with you. I think for some people that maybe have just got into it and that's all they've ever witnessed, is probably quite scary. But in general, I think the industry is seeing more institutional money even now coming in than it did 2-3 years ago. I mean,
especially with like the recent developments around ETFs. I think it's very interesting, and I think it's like, I also personally believe it's a matter of time before like one ETF gets approved around Bitcoin, and then it will be a simple domino effect. Like one gets approved, within 2 months, 10 more gets approved. Within like a year, you have like 40, 50 ETFs in like 10 different countries, and that will bring a lot of liquidity to crypto markets. And not just liquidity. I mean, it will be a, I would say it will become a vehicle to build a lot of financial products on top of Bitcoin. In probably in a centralized way, but like how we are building with Velar, I mean, it will also bring a huge confidence to the DeFi products that we are building in a decentralized way.
Yeah. So those people that say, just changing the subject slightly here, but those people that say, Bitcoin isn't designed for smart contracts or for DeFi and things like that. What's your view on? Because a lot of Bitcoin maxis from the early days, I don't speak to loads, but when I do speak, some of them are kind of skeptical about, like, that's not what Bitcoin's for. Bitcoin's for store of value, like you said earlier, or whatever it may be. Like, why? Like, I guess I know we've already talked about it, but in a way, but why do you believe it's a good opportunity, and how are you building on it if it's not built for that? Does that make sense? Like, give us a little bit of understanding about how Velar works, how you're building on it, what products you might be using. Do you see what I mean?
For sure. So I mean, I don't want to sound rude, but the thing is, like, because Bitcoin is open and decentralized, it's not up to one set of people to decide what can or what cannot be built. The beauty of Bitcoin is that people can do anything, whatever they want on top of it. And I think it's the most beautiful thing about Bitcoin. So I know, like, we have had a perception of over last entire decade that Bitcoin should be used as a store of value. And I think it's also a really good use case. But only that use case of Bitcoin, I don't think it works out, because even like we have seen it in past, like even with gold, like even with past store of value propositions like gold or silver, like banks can't say that because we are storing gold in our vault and printing money using the gold that's there in our vault, you can't use gold in jewelry, or you can't use gold in wires of the spaceships that you build. You can't stop people from building new use cases on anything in general. So I think that's not a big issue, like I would say, or it doesn't matter much. The fact that those set of people were dominating over past decade is truth. But now, over past one year at least, that I have seen, especially after ordinals, that actually changed the whole game.
That's
and
true.
I think it was also one of the reasons that got us really excited and it ignited the fire within me and my team to start Velar. So what happened was, like, earlier this year when ordinals came out.
Maybe just explain what ordinals are for those that don't know.
Yeah, for sure. So ordinals are, like, again, in layman terms, it's NFTs on Bitcoin, but it's much more than NFTs on Bitcoin, to be honest. So it's basically any form of data. It can be image, text, audio, video, whatever. You can inscribe it on the Bitcoin blockchain itself. So the data is stored directly on the Bitcoin blockchain, and because the Bitcoin blockchain is built on proof of work and it's distributed, the data is completely immutable, and once it's stored, it cannot be edited or deleted, or it cannot even be changed. So what it does is, so the entire Bitcoin blockchain is, for the first time in human history, we have a completely immutable database, which probably will remain there until the end of time, or the end of internet, or until Bitcoin dies. But I don't think it's going anywhere for next 100 years. So what it does is that the Bitcoin blockchain provides you a database that's going to exist in its pure form, in immutable form, for next at least few 100 years. And being able to inscribe data on top of it has, again, like, in immense number of use cases, right? So what ordinals are I would define it in one line. If I wanted to define it, ordinals are immutable database. So any data that you want to make immune, you can do it using ordinals. Of course, like, the first use case which you saw on ordinals is the similar way NFTs NFTs were used is by artists to basically showcase their different kind of art. It's like a lot of even NFT projects started launching their art in form of ordinals. But I think like ordinals has n number of use cases in even in corporate, even in personal, to to do a lot of stuff on ordinals in future in coming years. But what ordinals did was ordinals brought a new ray of light. Like it brought a breath of fresh air to entire Bitcoin ecosystem, because now you can do more fun stuff with Bitcoin other than just buying and storing it. So what happened was that, because inherently I would say it's an attribute, not a flaw, that Bitcoin has limited block space. So each and every block of Bitcoin can only store 4 MB, 4 megabyte worth of data on top of it. So what it does is it limits the amount of data in form of transactions or in form of ordinals to be stored on each Bitcoin block. So basically what it turns the block space into is an expensive real estate. So that expensive real estate, now it's up to people to choose what to basically store on that real estate, which is like 4 MB every 10 minutes. So each Bitcoin block is created every 10 minutes. So what you have is an immutable database, but that immutable database is rising in size only 4 MB for in every 10 minutes. So there is limited amount of data you can store on top of that. So right now what we see is like even up to like even sometimes I do some transactions in Bitcoin with my friends. If my friends, I want to send some money to my friend, for example $500, I would send it using Bitcoin, and that would cost me a fee using Bitcoin blockchain. But now, because the real estate is limited, you can do much more more valuable things using that block space of Bitcoin blockchain, which is 4 MB every 10 minutes, instead of sending few $100 transactions. So what will happen, I think, in future, and where we are going forward in future around Bitcoin, is that people will start storing more valuable data, probably even like corporate term sheets, even like probably people can store their will before they die, or people can store like much more valuable information in any form on Bitcoin blockchain, which they want to make immutable, instead of just using it to store transactions. And what will happen because of that is that Bitcoin transactions will not stop, but it will be too expensive to store a $200 worth transaction sent by one friend to other on that expensive real estate, which is limited. So you have to move a certain number of transactions out of the Bitcoin blockchain to accommodate more valuable things in that expensive real estate. So what's happening right now is a lot of sidechain and layer 2 infrastructure is being developed on Bitcoin. It's actually similar to what we saw around how DeFi was developed on Ethereum, because Ethereum was using proof of stake. It also had limited block space. It also had like some cost for doing transactions on top of Ethereum blockchain, and because it was limited block space, a lot of L2s and sidechain infrastructure was developed on Ethereum. Example is Polygon, Arbitrum, Optimism. So I think a similar thing we are seeing on top of Bitcoin happening, that a layer 2 and sidechain infrastructure with like multiple mechanisms is being developed around Bitcoin, which can actually take away all the small and retail transactions from Bitcoin L1 to Bitcoin to this Bitcoin L2s and sidechains, which can actually make space for more valuable stuff to happen on top of Bitcoin.
That's really interesting. I didn't even know that myself. So that's really, really, and I guess that's where something like Stacks comes in,
right?
As an L2,
right? Yeah. So even with Velar, so like Velar's aim is to build DeFi using sidechain and L2 infrastructure on top of Bitcoin. So what Velar does inherently is it uses the smart contract capabilities of sidechains and L2s that are built on top of Bitcoin, and we build DeFi applications on top of it, which users can use. So if you like Velar's first version is a DEX and a launchpad, which is built on Stacks. So because this industry is still comparatively new, I mean, when I say industry, it means the Bitcoin ecosystem is comparatively naive in term compared to Ethereum and other EVM blockchains. So we decided to build a simple derivatives exchange, a simple decentralized exchange in our first version, which is built using the smart contract capabilities of Stacks. So what it does, Stacks borrows security from Bitcoin, which allows you to basically have Bitcoin finality, while you are able to trade tokens, you are able to trade coins which are built on top of Stacks.
Yep, makes sense. And one of the things that we spoke about earlier on when we were talking about Velar was that the system could be quite slow. How do you speed up a system that's been known to be inherently slow?
So I think the ideal scenario in layman terms is the way that Ethereum's L2 infrastructure is developed, that you basically semi-finalize your transaction on sidechains and L2s while borrowing security budget of Bitcoin.
Yeah. Okay.
So there are two things. One thing is to finalize transactions on top of your sidechain or L2 that you develop technically, and the second thing is the security of the money that is there on sidechain. So you can borrow security of the Bitcoin L1, which is I think the most important part.
And just, sorry to interrupt, but just to explain that part for those that don't understand. So when you talk about borrowing security, what do you mean?
So what I mean by borrowing security is that, like I said, in blockchain, once the data is on the chain, you can't edit it or delete it or manipulate it, right? So in case you want to edit or manipulate it, the amount of money that would cost you to make changes in the entire chain to be able to manipulate or delete or edit the data is called the security budget, basically. So the amount of money that you would require to basically compromise a chain and to edit any past data on that chain.
Yeah.
So that, I think, because of the ecosystem of miners that is there on Bitcoin, I think it's fact that it's most difficult in entire crypto ecosystem to basically manipulate or edit the Bitcoin blockchain.
Yeah.
Because the miner ecosystem is so robust, the hash rate is so much now, and so many people are working to secure Bitcoin blockchain. So if your chain basically borrows security from Bitcoin blockchain, then anybody who wants to compromise your chain has to compromise Bitcoin first.
Fine. Okay.
So that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
So that's what you mean. So in order to secure your chain effectively, you borrow the security element from Bitcoin, which is effectively, I guess, getting a big brother to protect you in a fight, because there's, they'd have to go through them before they got to you.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But you finalize the transactions in a certain way on your own chain.
Yeah.
That's how you bring in
That's how you speed it up.
Yeah, but you use the security of the Bitcoin.
So it's kind of a best of both worlds.
Yes.
You get the speed and the security
together
to build something.
Yeah. And a lot of these mechanisms are still theoretical, but like as I said, the industry is still very naive, but in a year or two it will look completely different. So I am personally talking to at least 7 or 8 L2s right now that are in development as of now. Like some of them are theoretical, some of them are in testing. Like Stacks is live, but Stacks is also coming up with something really interesting called Nakamoto upgrade, where they will bring down the transaction times from currently 10 to 15 minutes to, after Nakamoto upgrade, it will be 4 to 5 seconds. So while
huge difference.
While borrowing security from Bitcoin, thus providing Bitcoin finality. So I think that will be a game changer, and it will enable a lot of applications like us to basically like facilitate our users in much faster, better way and provide much better user experience.
So at the moment, to do a swap on Velar, for example, would take that kind of 10 to 15 minute confirmation time that it takes on Stacks. Is that right?
Yeah.
So then once they upgrade that through the Nakamoto, which is this year, right?
It's early next year.
Okay, early next year. Once the Nakamoto upgrade happens, that 10 to 15 minutes becomes 4 to 5 seconds.
Yeah. So it's very comparable to the infrastructure that we see on Ethereum and its side chains. So I think it will be a game changer for entire crypto ecosystem, not just Bitcoin or one set of users, because also like the second most important thing is the liquidity. So even as of today, like around 40 to 50% of entire market cap of crypto is Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So all that money currently is sitting dormant in native Bitcoin chain. So it's also very interesting use case to bring that native Bitcoin into its sidechain and L2 infrastructure, which will not just like allow people to make their Bitcoins to use, but also allow people to generate yield on top of it, to make their Bitcoin to basically generate more money for them, and we are seeing it happening today also. So uh, so when we talk about Ethereum, which is also not small, so around 70 to 75% of Ethereum today is used in its DeFi ecosystem, but not even 1% of Bitcoin is used in its DeFi ecosystem. So imagine the like imagine $500 billion asset class sitting dormant. So if that $500 billion, and then opening the door to be able to generate yield on top of it, and to be able to put it to different liquidity pools, do many things around it. So
and also you'll probably see some of those people that are again, this is not financial advice, obviously, but some of those people that maybe are holding some of these other coins, or they're investing in Ethereums or whatever it may be, because they want to generate yield, could actually then say, well, do you know what? I would prefer to hold Bitcoin.
So why it's very interesting for me is because I was running my entire business of the fund on this particular use case. That institutions having Bitcoin in their balance sheet but sitting dormant doesn't make sense, like for a lot of institutions, and that's why they need to put their Bitcoin in a more I would say productive environment, and being able to do that on native Bitcoin, while we saw how centralized exchanges or custodial solutions are not that trusted, and they can go down so fast, how we saw multiple mishaps in 2022. I think it's a very interesting very interesting proposition that we are coming up with, that you are able to use your native Bitcoin, put it to use without trusting a third party.
100%. So we're coming up towards the end now of our conversation, but it's been fascinating chatting to you. What's the roadmap that you can tell us anyway for Velar? Where are you at the moment? What's the next stage? Obviously don't give away any trade secrets, but
thanks a lot, man. So Velar's version 1, which is called Velar Dharma, it's the DEX and the launchpad. We are live on beta mainnet now, but again, because the transaction times currently are 10 to 15 minutes, it's not the best user experience we can give as of now. But after the Nakamoto upgrade is when the real DeFi on Bitcoin journey begins. But our Velar version 2, which is now under development, very recently we started development of it, and we are getting huge support from the entire Bitcoin ecosystem now. Amazing. Is we are building a perpetual derivatives exchange with Bitcoin finality. I think that will be very interesting for us also, because I have been personally trading perps on a daily basis for last 4 years, and being able to do that on native Bitcoin is something as a user I am very excited about, even more than as a builder. And if we are able to do that on time, we'll be the first ever perpetual derivatives exchange on native Bitcoin using Bitcoin finality. So it's just exciting times, and the timeline for that is, of course, we'll because it's already under development, few months of development, then few months of rigorous testing, will go live before Bitcoin halving. So
exciting. So an exciting kind of next 6, 9, 12 months ahead.
Next 6 to 9 months are very exciting for entire Bitcoin ecosystem, I would say, because bunch of other L2s are going to come, which also we are exploring how we can work with them, and also with Velar V2 coming up with the perp DEX, I think it will be I'm actually very excited to see if how people perceive it, because like you said, Bitcoin maxis, they don't want to use their Bitcoins, and they want to just use it as a store of value, which is also all right. I'm not saying they have to, but even if 10% of that $500 billion asset class, if it comes to DeFi, that's $50 billion. It's more than entire DeFi ecosystem of Ethereum. So just 10% of Bitcoin being able to if it comes to Bitcoin DeFi, then it will double up the entire crypto DeFi market. and
it's insane.
and yeah, it's just very exciting to see how it pans out in
the
next
power
1 year.
that Bitcoin has, I guess, on at the moment, especially on the ecosystem, with
Yeah.
it's such a large proportion of it. So, I mean, it's been really good to have you. I've really enjoyed our conversation, and I'm excited myself as I was lucky to use it in testnet, which was really exciting, and congratulations on that, because you absolutely smashed it with some really good numbers and some amazing amount of users, and it was really, really good to see. So so I'm excited to see how this develops. Keep us posted, and thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Joe. Let's I mean we'll stay in touch, but thanks for having me again, Karen. Let's talk soon again.
Yeah, we